Spartan Nation, what's going on? This is Ken, the super cool Spartan. Another great episode of Q the Woodshed coming at y'all. The three amigos are back together. Quapo, the super connected Spartan, from back off the road doing his thing. We got Brian, the super hot mad Spartan boy. Woo, boy, he mad. He Joe Jackson mad, boy. He gonna see
Joe
some
Jackson
steam.
mad. Wow.
You'll see some steam coming out of his head, like, when you're walking in the very cold and the hair just starts steaming. he's so hot.
Get Brian canceled. That's that Joe Jackson man. He's trying to get you canceled within the first 30 seconds of the show.
Oh, man.
I'm gonna keep the PG.
Wow.
Yeah.
Man, I before we start, man, I gotta say that our takes before we start recording are so funny. I think I need to have like a camera to talk just for bloopers, the outtakes, boy, because we coming in this one pretty hot.
Yeah.
Oh man, boy. Well. Just to start it off, we all watched the MSU hoops. The Izzone unfortunately took an L in the Maui Invitational. They fought hard, but flamed out in the end. So
they ain't got the guys, they ain't got the players. So Sweet 16 max, we there. That's where we at. That's the ceiling. It feels like for basketball.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll get into that later in the later in the year. We were talking about maybe some of the stuff we can do as a collaborative for basketball, because we definitely got some hot takes for that. Oh boy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, hot takes for sure. Well, let's just jump right into it, gents. The Purdue game, or the Purdon'T game, however you want to call it.
Can't call it Purdon'T. They call it Purdon'T because we must a lot of Sparty know.
Let's get into it,
to be
gents.
Completely honest.
Let's do our initial thoughts. I'm gonna start with you, Mr. Super Hot Mad Spartan, to get your flamethrower going.
My initial thoughts.
Yes.
It feels like Michigan State is a bottom feeder program, and that's what it felt like watching this game. Purdue is by far the worst team in the Big Ten. And I know we have injuries. I know we have a lot going on. But we almost fumbled that game away very quickly. And I felt bad because I know we third quarter. Can we watch the game together? I said, They can definitely still lose this game. They have the capacity to. And right on schedule, they start trying to give it away. And to me, my big initial thoughts is I am now concerned about the future of the program based on what I've seen and the recruiting or lack thereof. There's just no good feelings around Michigan State football right now. We won the game. Yeah, we won, but that was abysmal. And I know the players are trying hard. I'm not blaming them. It just is what it is. Now we're facing another off season. We're thinking about who is going to take our good players. If we were the school that we think that we are, we wouldn't have to worry about that every year. Who is going to come in and take our best players? We're just right now, Michigan State is just preparing players to go to some better program so they can win that. And it doesn't seem like it's going to change. So those are my big initial thoughts long term about Michigan State football.
What say you, Super Connected Spartan?
That's pretty hot take. I mean, it's pretty hot take. There's just, I guess to a certain extent, you have to agree because there's no buzz around the program. We have a season finale this week. There's going to be a third, it's a holiday week. It's a Saturday. It's getting cold out. We're not in a playoff race. We're fighting for bowl eligibility. I don't envision more than a third full stadium, just the real diehards, or, they're doing the phone a friend, like you bring a friend, you get one in free type stuff. I mean,
Logo.
That's not what high-level programs have to do, right? This is not what happens at Bama, at LSU, at Oregon. And again, I knew it was a rebuild. And again, we've talked on the show ad nauseum about my relationship with a lot of the people that are there. There's some work to be done for sure. I mean, if not for the guy on Purdue just like literally just fumbling the bag, that game is tied, and I'm not sure if Michigan State wins the game, right? They did, but boy, oh boy, I mean, you're playing a team with the coach. I think he might have already been fired at this point. I haven't looked, but they may just be waiting to get him through, end of the year. But yeah, just there's no buzz. Even as crazy as things were with the previous coach, there was that bit of time. I remember going with buddies to the Miami game, and we had the swag surfing, and there was a buzz and an energy around the program. Obviously, with Coach, we already know what time it was with that for that storied run. But there's no energy, no zest. People leaving early, and you can't blame them because the product is not up to par for the prices that folks have to pay now for tickets and the whole I know it's gonna be a work in progress, but yeah, initial thoughts if we fan out from that this particular Purdue game, it's we need to get some good vibes going for Michigan State football this offseason. I mean, making a bowl would be a big start that way, getting the extra practice, but yeah, the vibes are not as high as they were when the season started. Yeah, that's kind of what it is with this.
Yeah, I agree with both of you guys that this was a pretty hard watch. And, like Brian said, we were in Florida because we went to the Florida Classic, our annual mini family reunion trip. The Florida Classic is a football game that's played between Florida A&M and Bethune-Cookman. We have cousins that went to FAMU, so we've had family who's always gone there at that time of year, the weekend before Thanksgiving. So we were there watching this game, and it was a painful watch. It was like night and day between the first and second half, like Jekyll and Hyde, and all those other yin and yang type of things to it. First half, it was like, oh, yeah, it was great. I mean, she was just pounding them. And then the second half, it was like, oh, my God, are we going to lose to literally the worst team in the entire conference? I mean, it was that scary. And one thing that's kind of hard, I guess, as fans to listen to is some of the commentary that the talking heads say that call the game, because they talk positive. And, I understand that, it's like, you guys were saying this is first year for the majority of the coaching staff with Jonathan Smith and everything. But, geez, I'm just like, what is going on here, man? I mean, the way that Purdue was moving the ball in the second half and we weren't doing anything. I mean, the reason that Purdue lost was because they just made worse plays than us pretty much. I mean, it was just like, wow. It was truly a nail biter. So, and like I said, the commentators are like, yeah, it's Jonathan Smith's first year. It's going to take some time. Yes, we get it. It's going to take some time, but like, oh my God, like, however the season ends, whether if it's a win or a loss, and hopefully it's a win so we can, like, to your point, Quaffo, get some kind of juice going. I mean, it's like, whoo. I mean, once the season's over with, it's like, okay, like, where do we go from here? I mean,
that's the question. It's hard to forecast.
Yeah, and we'll get into it, but my thinking was, comparing the first year for like each head coach that we've had, going back to maybe, let's say, when we got Mark D'Antonio, his first year, Mel Tucker's first year, Jonathan Smith's first year. This year seems to be so like polarizing in the sense that you've seen like the very good of Michigan State, started off 3-0 hot, then we drop the next three, then we get that win in Iowa, which is probably their best win of the season. Then we drop the next 4 or 5 out of the 6 game after that. It's just like I've never seen such a roller coaster ride from our first year coach taking over a program. Because at least like when Mark D'Antonio took over, I mean, he had ups and downs, but you could kind of feel that, okay, he was taking the program somewhere. And I'm not saying that Jonathan Smith won't, but you can just kind of tell that.
It don't feel like it.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like it. And when Mel Tucker came in, yeah, he had his first season because it was the COVID year, but he had some big wins. I mean, he beat Michigan and he beat Northwestern. And then that propelled them to, his second year, we had the 11-2 season. This here is like, well, where do we go?
The other thing, not to belabor the point, because I guess we probably don't even really. There's really no reason to rehash the game, right? Like it was bad. But so if we fan out and think about this in the sense of where the program's at, a couple of things are different, right? The landscape of college football has changed dramatically from all those other coaches you talked about, right?
True.
You have NIL, you have the transfer portal. I think it's actually the transfer portal is more of the problem than the NIL. The NIL, I'm always going to be a person that says these young men and women should be getting paid for what they provide to you. Never
totally agree with that. 100%.
But the portal thing is really the combination of the two is really the fly in the ointment. That there was always transfers in those other situations, but it wasn't as free agent like style like this is. So it's a whole different dynamic. There's a 12-team playoff. It's way different than it ever was for those other coaches. And I don't know if they would have had the same level of success given the landscape in which we find ourselves is. The question we have to ask is, people commentating on this stuff and going to the games and being out stuff. Do we the question was just raised, it looks murky, like it's hard to deduce whether or not this is an upswing, downswing, what's going on in the program. The vibes are not there. We have to figure out if Coach Smith was the right hire. I still think he was, given what was out there. And we have to figure out, right, like, where does Michigan State fit realistically in the landscape of the new era of college football, right? We have a pretty decent sized NIL budget, but unlike other schools, nobody's writing a $10 million check for a quarterback at MSU. That's just not happening. Typically what's been happening is spread out, right? Some guys get a little bit of spike, compared to others, but it's spread out, right? A little inside baseball, right? Like it's spread out. And they're doing a lot of efforts to be one of the better NIL programs because they're thinking about a whole department. We know football runs the show in every athletic department, but they're thinking about the whole department, right? So what we have to ask ourselves is, in football, success drives, revenue for sure. But at the same time, I don't know if MSU is ever going to be in a place where we do what they did down the road and give a high school kid $10 million to play quarterback. So then we have to understand, like, it's going to have to be developing players. It's going to have to be getting players out of the portal. And how are we going to navigate that? Do we have the right people in place? I know from a department standpoint, I think there is the people understanding this and understanding the landscape. They spend a lot of time on this in terms of trying to drive revenue. But we just have to understand, are we going to be, supportive? Do we have to be supportive? I mean, some would say yes. Some would say, no, I don't have to be supportive. You haven't shown me a way to be supportive. And in both situations, you're right. So it's a very big off season. There's some repair that needs to be done that's happening. right? We talk about some of the high school recording we're doing and some of our pre-show stuff. The high school stuff has to get back better because MSU had lost some luster in states like Ohio, even the Michigan schools and the high school ranks, because Coach Tucker was off. I'm gonna go get this kid in Georgia. I'm gonna get it in, which is fine to a certain extent, but like he was neglecting the regional nature of the school, and it kind of cost him beyond the other stuff they cost him off the field. But we're getting back. I know we lost a kid today that I actually know a little bit about, and so we're getting back. But that's my long-winded way of saying it's probably too early to determine where we're going. But I would say if we're 1 year from now and we're still 5-6, some questions probably need to be answered. Because things are being changed quick.
Yeah, I'm not jumping off the Michigan State bridge. I'm just saying that for me personally, it's just there are warning signals there, and as a fan, we've been losing a whole lot, and that's the biggest. That's where the apathy set in, the losing. And right. I guess many of us didn't realize how bad of a shape Michigan State was in until, you're playing a team like Purdue, and I understand State has injuries, the more injuries on the defensive side than offensive side, but that's where the biggest issue has been is the offensive side. Defense at this point, we understand where they're at. There's just bodies out there. There's young guys, kids who were in high school last year and getting their feet wet, and the secondary, it just kind of is what it is. But all right, what about the defensive line? Most of those guys have been intact. Still can't get pass rush. I know we got some sacks, but that was mostly off, just all out blitzes. Basically, Rossi just said, all right, we're just going to blitz, whatever. We're going to just do it. That's what we can do. And it worked for the most part in the first half. And so, to go back to the overall perception of the program, I guess that's my question. What is the perception of Michigan State? Obviously, it's not what we think it is or where it should be. And on Michigan State's top 25 in revenue, we should never have a recruiting class where it's ranked. I don't even know what's ranked now because it was in the 50s before.
42 nationally.
42 nationally? Okay, so I thought it was in the 50s previously. So we'll see what it shakes out. I know there's some other people looking around in our class as they should be because, hey, if you're ranked high and then Big Boy comes knocking and go pay that money, why wouldn't you?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I guess for me is okay, how is State going to, what is the pathway for State to build themselves back up? If we're not getting the recruits in high school, the portal right now is unknown. It could be great this season, get some players, but for the most part, it's been kind of a mixed bag. And I'm definitely not for paying high school kids a bunch of money for something they haven't proven yet. So where do we go from here? Where do we start at? And that's where I kind of feel like that's where most of the angst amongst the families is coming from. Where do we go? We're not recruiting well. We don't bring people in. Our coaching staff, we don't really know what we have. If Smith is going to be just a football guy, well, they needs to put some recruiters around him, some people with some buzz and energy and make some noise, because that's what's going to get the kids to pay attention. So,
and I'll say just on that piece, and then we can maybe move on, is like there's a couple people on staff, and you all know them, that I think do have that, maybe it's not buzz, but they have that connection with the kids. They're able to go into the schools and grab them. And you see it in sort of those positions on the field, right, where there is some spark and some dynamic play. That's because, some of those people were brought in, but like the folks in charge of those parts of the system, they have what you're talking about, right? Like Coach Smith is a good dude, seems like to be a good human being. But to your point, he's not, it's, what is it? Low ego, high output. I mean, but right now we got low ego and mid output. So we need to get the high output. So, but there's people around the program for sure that have the energy, that have that buzz. It's a big off season, man. Big off season.
Huge.
It would be nice to get to a bowl, even if it is the formerly Motor City Bowl. I think that'd be fun. People to go down. I think that would be really good for the program to just more practices, implement the system, getting Aiden Child some more reps. I mean, to me, it would be great to get this win this week against Rutgers and go bowling.
Agreed. So let's just transition to our goods party, bads party. We already started with the bads party. We scored no points in the second half.
Again,
no points there.
That's been a problem all year.
Yeah, it was. It was a tough watch. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. Like that was just. I mean, I was. There was locally there was a parade, so that kind of had my attention a little bit. Obviously, opportunity to go to the game. I was like, nah, I'm straight. I mean, it just was, and that's not being a fair weather fan. I mean, I'm 46 years old. I've probably spent 43 years being a Spartan fan, going to Spartan Stadium, going to Spartan Athletics. But to the earlier point, there was just no buzz around that particular game. And again, the kids are working hard. I'll get into that in a little bit, and the word on the street. But it's it just not a good opponent, and then you don't play well. You start well, but then you don't play well. It's just tough. It's just tough. I can't blame anyone who, as we start the holiday season, is like, yeah, I'm out on a Friday night, late into the night. Can't blame anybody for kind of checking out a little bit with that last game.
And I want to say too, I'm gonna put that in the bad party department too. Why was this game a night game on a Friday night?
Right,
because we gotten pigeonholed into it.
I mean, you mean to tell me that
the state bends over and takes it anytime the Big Ten says, "Hey guys, you need to move your game." All right, cool. We'll take a Friday night game. We'll get rid of a home game. State's always going to be that person there to do what the Big Ten needs.
But they can't do, or the networks can't do what they do in the NFL. Can't flex the game out, because if you know that you're at this part of the season, right, and you have a very bad team versus a below average team. I mean, you can't be like, okay, we can't flex this game out. Maybe they can. I don't know, but for that game to be, because you have a bad team versus an average team.
And guess what? They know that bad teams have fan bases. Michigan State's a bad team with a big fan base that's going to tune in. There's a reason State gets flexed to these, or gets put in these positions.
Yeah, I mean, despite how we're feeling, collectively on this program, this is definitely the Quaaludes program. We're all on some downers right now, but to Brian's point, there is a lot of name ID with Michigan State. That's why, I mean, if you look around the conference, the teams that get the primetime games, Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State to a certain degree as well. And Michigan State's kind of right behind them, even more so than Wisconsin, right? We have more primetime games than Wisconsin. Now, this year was a little crazy with how they had us playing, and Oregon, I guess, would be up there too now with them joining in USC. So that's kind of your 5 or 6 teams that Fox, especially with their package, NBC with their package, everybody wants a little piece, right? And so you're navigating that. You're navigating the fans. What I would say is that we have to be way more aggressive as a department, saying we can't have no noon. They went a whole season with no noon games.
Zero.
Is a prime time. That's prime time. Noon on Saturday is prime time. What college football, what we come to know. And so I get being with your TV partners and understanding all that dynamics, but we got to fight back. I mean, that's where AD Haller has to be like, no, we've done a lot for the conference. We can't be having a situation where there is absolutely zero noon games. I'm all for the Friday night game. That is, Labor Day weekend. That's a great event to have.
Yeah, most definitely that.
Quite honestly, I mean, I know you guys are in Metro Detroit. I think the home finale should always be at Ford Field. Myself personally, I know there's implications for that, but it would be an event. It would be, last year, even with the team being so down, people came out and showed out. And
it was a fun event. We went.
Yeah, we were there. Yeah.
I think it should be an annual event. You could plan shopping around it and dinner and we're going to the MSU game at Ford Field. I know there's probably financial implications to that too, but to me, that would be like an appointment. Like, we know, the end of the season, we're always going to play at Ford Field. So things like that. But yeah, the scheduling was just atrocious this year. For those that follow MSU football, it was really tough. With the West Coast games and, the timing of stuff was just really bad. So hopefully, again, A.D. Haller gets after the Big Ten schedule makers and we don't have this situation next year because this was a really bad year for all that.
Right, because half the games were night games.
Yeah.
Half, all of them basically were night games. 3:30 it's ended at nighttime.
Right. I agree.
And what I do like about what you just said, Quaffo, is going back to the point of having some juice around the football team, doing something like that Ford Field event, that will give some juice around the program. Because if you had, the last game of the season at Ford Field on an annual basis, I mean, regardless of how the team's looking, that would be, like you said, something, looking forward to,
and keep it on Black Friday for sure.
Yeah.
It's an event. Most people are already off. Like, hell, yeah, I'll go to the Michigan State game, especially in Detroit area, because it's easier for us to get to Ford Field than it's the Spartan Stadium.
Yeah, there's a ton of alums in that 313 area code. There's just a ton. 248. I mean, there's a ton of alums. To me, it makes sense if you can make the numbers work. If you don't have to split so much with the Lions organization, right? If there's a way to do it, I would be for it. So maybe as my connected self, I'll start pitching that over at 1855 a little bit.
That'd be awesome, dude.
One thing you mentioned earlier, and I was kind of going off topic.
Yeah, we're still on Bass Party, by the way. We're still on the Bass Party department.
We're there. We just talked at this, but we're just chopping it up now. Game is whatever.
This is more pre-show. This is kind of where we go pre-show.
Yeah. You talk about the other sports and how they're sharing the revenue amongst them and trying to split the NIL. I know one of the things they do in SEC, they don't have as many non-revenue sports.
That's where we're going.
To your point, all right, is Michigan State going to say, you know what, we're going to go all in with football, basketball, and maybe a couple of things here and there and get rid of it? I know they got rid of some of the sports already. And I'm not saying that's the answer. I'm saying, well, as administration-wise, the state, are they willing to take that step if that's what they want, if they want to be a winner in this other area? And another discussion has to be had. I mean,
that's the calculus that yeah. I mean, you've hit on something that I think everybody knows and everybody's trying to figure out, right? And I'm not here breaking any news, but that's something that has been on people's mind for the last couple of years. And me personally, as an alum fan of all the athletics, I like taking my kids to some of the non-revenue sports. I would hate to see a situation where we're just like, just in the same, yeah, of course, do I want a football winner? Yes. But I also want to go see women's soccer. Shout out Coach Hostler.
Exactly.
Coach Renzing, hockey. I mean, the beauty of MSU is that doing well in a lot of different sports and activities. And yeah, football is important, but other sports have importance too. And people come on campus for it, and there's events for it. We're talking about women's soccer in terms of their deep run into the Sweet 16 and winning conference championships, and that DeMartin Stadium is sold out. I mean, those are good things. Men's soccer has sellouts. Hockey is number one in the country. I mean, you want this overall program. So from an overall program standpoint, things are going great. Like football, it takes some time and it gets all the spotlight on it. So you have to have a strong football program, but at the sake of we're going to cut like 12 of the other sports, like that would be
Yeah, I don't think they should, but say that's the question that has to be answered. Because okay, what do you know?
That's what they're. Again, I'm not breaking any news. Don't aggregate this or whatever. I'm not breaking any news, but that's the question you got to ask, right? Like, what you want to do to compete with the Ohio States, the Michigans, the USCs. Something's got to give.
Yeah, to your guys' point, I know they said at the beginning of the football season, college football season, that Ohio State shelled out $20 million for their roster.
I thought it was 40. I thought it was 40.
I heard 20 was. I mean, it could be 40. I don't know. I know it was. It was pretty expensive. Yes, they cut some checks. They cut some checks at Ohio State.
Mm-hmm.
And it shows. I mean, other than them taking that that L at Oregon.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, for the most part, they're in the thick of it. So
yeah, mm-hmm.
Kind of want to go out there and money gun it.
Yeah.
So hey, I said this over our text chain. I think we were watching the Purdue game. I said it too. We were watching MSU hoops. I told the Super Connector Spartan he needs to, take out his Rolodex and get at Matt Ishbia and Tom Gores and Dan Gilbert and Eli Broad and all those other billionaire alums. Be like, hey.
I don't think is Eli with us anymore. I don't think Eli's with us anymore.
Oh, okay. I don't know. Well, I'm sure he has. I'm sure he has family that
you name. They do the NIL thing. I feel like it's the system itself. There's no return for them, and so why do they? It's hard to keep just giving money.
Mm-hmm.
And so that becomes the thing. I know they're going to change it, NIL. They're going to filter it more through the universities and whatever that's going to change it, sort of. But they're still going to have the other NIL where somebody can come in and say, hey, man, I got this contract for you 3 years. You come to 3 years, you get this amount of money, blah, blah, blah. That's still going to happen.
Well, the other difference, too, between here and the other place, so you said Ohio State, like here at Michigan State, they do they have won awards for the NIL program because it does what it's supposed to do. It's name, image, and likeness. So it's like, hey, you're signing up for this. We talked about our friends at MSU-FCU. Shout out to MSU-FCU. Like, they have the Women of Sparta program. So yes, they're receiving money, but they come to events, they shake hands, they do, they sign autographs. That's kind of what this was supposed to be. At a place like Ohio State, and I know this for a fact, the high revenue guys, those football guys making that money, they don't got to do nothing. They just go drive around in cigars and get the check. It's a different environment. We actually expect something.
Already paying them players anyway.
Correct. But what I'm saying is that the NIL here, the way it's set up, is not just handouts. Like here, like there's an expectation. Like, all right, cool, you doing that? Then we need you to pull up here and do some autographs, or we need you to, pitch this pizza, or whatever.
Come on, cue the woodshed.
I mean, right, whatever it is, and there's a difference that some of the other programs don't have that same requirement. Just being honest, they don't have the same requirement. They're just like, here, just pay. They're just straight up. Like, do we really think people like at LSU have to do anything to get the money? It's just, no, here's a check, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's a big differentiator as well.
Yeah. Good points, gentlemen. Good points. Well, before we move forward here, were there any good Sparty things about the game? I mean, everything happened in the first half, so I guess that's it. You scored all our points in the first half.
I mean, I'm not going to be all negative. I would say, pass rush got home a little bit in parts of the game.
Oh, it did get a turnover.
Yeah,
on defense.
And it was Aiden Childs is looked better. I mean, he still overthrows. He's still a young quarterback with less than 20 starts, but he, at least is growing. I think he's valuing the football a little better. I mean, he had the one interception that should have been an interception, for the penalty. But for the most part, I would say there's some growth there. I'd love to see him, stick around, which it seems like he is from all indications. Learn the offense the offseason, get stronger, work with the returning receivers, work with the incoming receivers, and really, take the reins of this. I mean, I think what I was able to observe is this year, it was a lot thrusted on him. Like you got the big money, you're the quarterback, lot of high expectations. And that's hard for, I think he turned 19 this year. Like he's trying to, like you don't know until you do it. Now he knows what it's like. He's been in the fire of a Big Ten season. He can come back next year, spring ball out. Him and Nick Marsh doing their thing. I know everybody's worried. I'm telling you, don't worry. Knock on wood, don't worry. The two of them will be back. And just build that chemistry in the off season, right? Working out at the facility, going to pizza, going to movies, going on trips, like building that bond. So they come out the gate in August next year. Bam, 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 bam. So good Sparty. He looks better than he did in week one, which is what you want to see. Not all aspects of the team look better than week one, but I would say Aiden looks better. Got to figure out the running game for sure for next season. Oh, for this week coming up and for next season. And then, they did not lose. So that's a good Sparty too. They did not lose. Yep.
It wasn't it didn't feel like a win, but we did win the game. Definitely. I had to pick it back off.
There's no style point. Just get the W and get out of there.
Ultimately, I know I've been kind of negative and down, but we still do have a shot at 6-6. And just to kind of pick it back on the good Sparty, I want to shout out Aiden Childs. It's funny because sometimes they talk about his turnovers so much, they haven't acknowledged, like, hey, he's been playing really well lately. Like he hasn't had turnovers. He hasn't been doing this stuff. And I feel like most of the offensive issues aren't him.
No.
I agree. I
mean, you're trying going back there with nobody protecting you, right? Like he has little to no time. If you watch film and watch how much time he actually has from snap to when the rush is there. I mean, we go back, and I know I missed the show. You went to Illinois game. There's 4 dudes in the backfield on the snap of the ball.
Yeah.
Like, snap 4 dudes and so he's despite all that's happened, he's had a pretty decent year. And I tell you what, 75-80% of the teams in the country would take Aiden Childs like tomorrow. If he,
for sure.
And they would be like, we want that kid. So.
Hey, I agree. Yeah, we won the game. Caused some turnovers.
It's the biggest good Sparty.
Actually got some sacks.
Yeah.
Because we've been starving for some sacks.
I have one that's a sort of good Sparty. We're getting a lot of young players playing time, and hopefully it will pay off in the future. Because the biggest problem this team has, and it's not really anything the coaching staff can do, is depth. They just don't have the bodies. We talked about Ohio State briefly. They've had a lot of injuries on the O-line. You wouldn't know it. They just keep on rolling. So we have to get to that point with the depth, and it's good to have young guys playing now so you can see what they have and see, okay, we have some guys back there, in the 2 deep, 3 deep.
Yep.
Yep.
So that's my ray of sunshine for the future.
Yes, you need to blow some sunshine, Super Mad Spartan, because
ain't a lot of sunshine.
We would do a lot of doomsday talking. Hope. This is the doomsday episode, so need a little bit of sunshine in here. So speaking of which, let's get to our word on the street, Mr. Super Connected Spartan. Any sunshine there with word on the street?
For sure. Like I said, I think there's not a sinking ship situation like you had last year where it's like everybody's out the door. talking back and forth with a couple of guys that are on the shelf right now. Just kind of motivate them, like, hey, man, you about to, get yourself healthy and come back next year. And so no indications that some of those folks that have eligibility, obviously people aren't going to transfer, right? But like, I don't think it's folks that are consequential at this point. Again, that's just my read of the situation. Nobody's jumping ship. Again, everybody has faith in the coaching staff. Nobody's like pointing fingers, just locked in, trying to get this win against Rutgers, get to a bowl, get healthy, get to off-season workouts, and attack a much easier schedule next year.
For sure, yeah.
And attack 2025, right? Like, and so a lot of sense of optimism. We've spent 40 minutes talking, about kind of state of the program, but I think there's a lot of sense of optimism from the folks I'm able to talk to, which is good, right? Nobody's like hanging their head, and you wouldn't expect that, right? They're football players, and at this point, damn near professional football players the way college football works. So I'm happy to see, no down faces. I'll be in the building on Saturday. I think they're going to get the win and get to the bowl, and the kids are the young men. Let's not call them kids. Young men are motivated. Again, the ones that are injured, trying to get themselves right to be able to perform the next season, wherever that may be. And then again, we'll lose some through attrition, just like we lost a couple of these kids that were high school coming into college. But the one monkey don't stop no show, like they say. So we'll be all right. We'll be all right. There'll be some kids in. There'll be some portal activity. But the ones that I'm pretty certain are coming back that were contributors this year, I think are focused on making 2025 not look like 2024.
Right. Hey, Quaffo, quick question for you.
Yeah.
What does IJS stand for again?
I'm just saying, that's what the kids say. That's what the kids say. I don't know where you're going, man. Again, this is the uncut version of Cue the Woodshed, powered by Surf Story. It's going down a dark path. Dark path, bro. Like, what are you talking about? IJS.
Injuries.
I was like, what? What? No, never seen that before. Golly, bro.
It's the new abbreviation.
Man, that was like that Paris Hilton situation. Like situation.
Like, gee.
We're retired.
Just have a little fun here. Spartan Nation, have a little fun here. It's been such an up and down season. Just want to add a little more humor to what we got going on right here. So
right. Oh my goodness!
Oh boy, a little off the rip humor there. We had in pre-show. So all right, get back on track here. Let's just what's our thoughts on Rutgers, gentlemen? They're coming off of a surprising loss, I think, against Illinois last week. Like, I think, they were stunned.
Surprising.
Like, whoa.
Yeah, so they're going to be angry. I can't remember. Are they bowl eligible? They have 6 wins?
Yeah, they already won 6 games.
Yeah, they're 6-5. We're 5-6. So
I mean, they have that little rivalry with us because of the whole keep chopping thing. So they haven't forgot that stuff. The game at home helps. Kyle Monangai, depending on his health, like, he's a beast. He's a really good running back. But that's really the only thing I'm ever worried about their whole team. Even on defensive side of the ball. I mean, they're okay. They run stuff that's not really exotic. It's stuff that you can prepare for. but you better bring a hard hat to stop Kyle Monangai. That kid can run the football. He's an aggressive runner. He hasn't had the season I thought overall. Like I thought coming into the year, he'd be like probably one of the best backs in the league. He's okay, but he's been a little banged up. Then again, if he plays, changes the game. If he doesn't play, I didn't dive into the too deep. But they're back up. I mean, they're a power team. They like to run the football, and again, he's the engine to the thing. So it hinges on Monangai's health. If he plays and is at 100%, it's going to be a tough day at the office, and probably a limited possessions type situation. I don't know if you see it differently, Ryan.
No, pretty much the same. They're not the same team as up, but they so up and down with Rutgers' schedule. They were expected to go like 8-9 wins this year.
Right.
They've underachieved. I don't know if it's been injuries. I don't know exactly what's happening with them, but it just depends on what team is going to show up for Michigan State. What are we going to, can we score in the second half? What are we going to do on offense?
Right.
Is the defense going to get stops? Is the secondary just going to get exposed? Not going to get enough pressure on the quarterback? Are we going to make a lot of plays? It's the team is so up and down. It's hard to get a good read for it.
Yeah.
I know they need some IJS.
Hey, man, you get to the trivia. Get to the trivia, man.
One thing I'll say about Rutgers before we move on is it was very funny at the beginning of the season where Rutgers was getting all this hype talking about could they be a dark horse playoff team because they didn't have Michigan, Ohio State, or Penn State on their schedule. And I was sitting there thinking like, dude, this is Rutgers. We're not talking about we're not talking about
but they're not like terrible. They're like the old Rutgers of the past.
No, they're not, but
I mean,
come on.
We're closer to the old Rutgers of the past than Rutgers is.
But come on, what did Jim Morris say? Playoffs?
Right.
You can't even win a game. Like, come on, dude.
Well, but hey, the same thing would have been said about Indiana before the season. You'd have been like, "Oh, it's Indiana," and look where they are. So
they're gonna make the playoffs.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure they're gonna make it.
They very well could.
They probably don't get dog walk, but at least they made it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's why they paid Kirk Cignetti. They extended him 8 years.
The same.
Down that road, we'll see how it works out for you.
I was just about to say,
right.
And he's older. He's actually older than the coach we just had to, deal with.
Oh, he looks old.
He's 64.
He looks old.
Yeah.
Well, he might yeah. Anyway,
older.
MSU fun football facts.
Oh yeah, I got a good one for you gentlemen here.
Okay.
This is another multiple choice. Another multiple choice here. So, are y'all ready for it? For the Jeopardy question here?
Bring it on.
All right.
Yep.
How many times has MSU gone undefeated in football? A, 2 times, B, 4 times, or C, 6 times? How many times has MSU gone undefeated in their illustrious college football history?
It's either B or C, right? Like it's not 2. 2 seems too low. But 6 seems kind of high, even with those 50s and 60s.
So is your answer 4?
Yeah, I'm trying to.
Sounds like your answer is 4.
I'm gonna go at 2.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with 4.
Oh boy. Well, Brian got it right.
Whoa! Wow.
I was just thinking, I don't know too many times they went undefeated. I know we had a tie. They never undefeated under Mark Antonio. So I'm like, I'm against 2. It had to be the 60s.
Yes, It was the first one was in 1952, They went 9-0. Then again in 1966, they went 9-0-1. And that one
no
was the Notre
season?
Dame.
Yeah, the 10-10 tie.
Yeah, the 10-10 tie.
No other undefeated seasons?
Nope.
Wow. Okay. Well,
nope.
The tough thing to do.
Yeah, Mark D'Antonio almost did it twice.
Yep.
But, got robbed.
Those were good years.
Yes.
Those were good years.
Yes.
Maybe one day we'll be back to having fun times.
Yeah.
Expectations being high.
I'll leave it with this because, again, we're almost at the hour. I'll leave it with this. Like I said, nobody thought Indiana would be in the playoff this year, and they're about to be there, right? So in this landscape, even though things have changed from where they were in previous regimes, things can change like that, with a couple bounces of football here and there, the right kind of folks in the portal. It can happen. And so it may seem crazy here sitting on November 26th of 2024, but I'm here to tell you the way college football is, there's no dominant teams. I don't think there'll be a dominant team next year because of all the transfer portal. We could be sitting here 1 year from now, God willing, and these guys could be fighting to be in a playoff. I mean, that's just how crazy it is. Like, it doesn't look like it now. It doesn't look like it. It looks really dark. Like, oh my gosh, fighting to get 6 wins. But if you think about even this season, say they beat Rutgers to get a 6-6, well, they probably should have beat Michigan, so that's 7-5. They probably should beat Boston College, that's 8-4. You can start to do the math. It's not that far away. You need about 10 wins to be a playoff contender. If we think of the season in that regard, it looks bad. We don't have the depth or whatever. It's year one. Pump the brakes. Things can change pretty quickly in college football in this new day and age.
And, to add to your point, Quafo, this 12-team playoff, I think from what I heard or saw on ESPN, this 12-team playoff format isn't locked in that far, because I think within the next maybe 2 to 3 years, it could be up to like 16 teams. So it's not like the CFP where we were locked in for 4 teams.
I don't like that. 16 is way too much.
I totally agree with you, Brian. I totally do. But, as you always say, it's a capitalist society. So this 12-team playoff could, only be short-lived. So soon you'll be talking about 9-3 and 8-4 teams probably getting into the playoff. So it's
possible.
It's crazy.
Possible. Yeah, it seems dark now. I'm just saying there's a chance. There's a chance things can flip on a dime, man.
Yep, there's light at the end of the tunnel.
Mm-hmm.
So, before we sign off here, definitely want to say happy Thanksgiving to everybody. This is the week of Thanksgiving, Turkey Day. Be cheering on the Lions, on Thanksgiving. Hopefully they get that. That's one thing that Dan Campbell has yet to do, is win a game on Thanksgiving. As successful as he's been in this short tenure as the Lions coach. So hopefully get that first win on Turkey Day.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, in the spirit of thanks, just thankful for the partnership between Q the Woodshed and Zillow Sports Network. It's been a good year, even though it's been a roller coaster. So thankful for the partnership.
Good football team.
Yes, we are definitely having fun doing this podcast. So definitely, it's been a good partnership here. We got many things in store for everybody as we keep this train moving. So, other than that, you guys have anything, any last shout outs or comments or anything?
Yeah, just happy Thanksgiving. Everybody stay safe. Like you said, go Lions, and let's get to bowl eligibility.
Yes, we want to see MSU in the Quick Lane Bowl or whatever the bowl is now.
I'll take it.
Day after Christmas.
Yep, I'll take it.
Yes, sure. Well, gentlemen, another illustrious podcast here in the books, Cue the Woodshed. Make sure you guys check us out on YouTube, Spotify, Amazon Prime, all the streaming platforms. Check us out on Facebook, TikTok, everything. We got everything. Like I keep saying, we are like the Matrix.
Not the Matrix. Not the Matrix. No.
What you want me to say, Brian?
Something else.
We're like the board. Resistance is futile.
The board. Wow.
People don't know what that is. They're like, boring.
Star Trek.
Star Trek reference.
Star Trek.
I know.
Yes. IJS. 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 Yes. All right, everybody, we out of here. Ken, the super cool Spartan. Quad for the super connected Spartan. My brother Brian, the super mad Spartan. Cue the Woodshed. We are out. Go green.
Go white.
Go white.